podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
So welcome everybody to the Premier League Cricket Show, and it is week 3 of the Premier League. And as we said last week, we've got 7 new leagues to talk about. However, it wasn't quite hurricane weather, but 5 of those 7 leagues, Cornwall, Devon, South Wales, West of England, and the Southern Prem, basically got washed out. So whilst we've been talking about nothing but Northern Leagues for the past couple of weeks, guess what we're going to do today? We're going to talk more or less about Northern Leagues again. So the weather's got to come right at some point. So joining me as always, fresh from a nice swift call that me and him did about half an hour ago. It was different, to say the least. Hugh Newsom, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, good, very good. Yeah, nice weekend.
How'd you get on?
Not great. They bowled well at me, and when they bowl well at me, I can't play. So I need them to bowl badly at me. So if they bowl badly, I'm fine. If they bowl well, yeah, no good. So yeah, that's the story of my cricketing nexus, shall we say? If you put it on a good length, I'm stuffed.
So everyone who's listening is thinking all we've got to do is bowl well at him. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. But there's well, and there's like reasonably well, and it's reasonably well. There's a limit. But no, it's good fun. I enjoyed it. It was. I tell you what, my back's knackered though. I knackered it at the end of last season, still knackered. So yeah, I think I'm creaking a bit.
Oh well, you might have to start watching more instead of playing.
Well, no. I'll crack on. But...
And just before I forget, you did tell me something. I'm sure you won't mind me sharing this. There could be 3 of you playing in 3 different sides for Wirksworth at the weekend.
That's right. Yeah. No, Toby won't be available this weekend. But yeah, my daughter's getting her first run out hopefully this weekend. In the mighty Div 10 North. So we'll see how she goes. But yeah, she's looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now let's go from Div 10 North to the Premier League and the top of the Northern Pyramid, and also join, as always, Mr. Matt Taaffe from Cric. And I'm going to ask the really obvious question. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good.
Better than last week?
Better than last week. If anyone's seen it online, how Blackpool against Leyland went on, it was some finish.
Yeah,
it was some fish. We will come to that shortly, but never mind.
Can I come to it now?
No, let's come to it later.
We can come to the game later, but what it is a great advert for NV Play, because if you click on it, it's a Frogbox stream, isn't it? And you click on the video and you go, I want to watch that final ball, and it cuts off before it finishes. Go Frogbox. Yeah. So thankfully we are sponsored by NV Play, because Frogbox is crap.
Yeah. Can't look at the individual 4s and 6s, can't look at the wickets, but do you know what? We'd like to see.
What Frogbox is really good at is looking for the bits between the balls. So
that's
people milling around, wicketkeepers just chatting with slips, umpires wandering about, scratching their arse. Frogbox is excellent for that, but actually for capturing the action, no good.
NB Play, you know how much you're paying us? You've got to pay us more now. Most definitely. But hey, never mind though, Mr. Taaffe. You scored runs and you were the hero of the day, really, weren't you?
Set up the game, really. Had to graft my arse off, but yeah, nice to start the league with a win.
Yeah, and you talk grafting your arse off. I mean, you got one of those nice bats that should be hitting the ball a billion miles, and you couldn't get out to 60s when it came to your strike rate. Was it that sort of pitch at Leyland?
Seemed like 2 different pitches. One spin came on, it just really was tacky and slow, and then when the seam was on, it sort of kissed the surface from that, like, good length, really. So it was a bit different, but nothing new to batting up north.
No, absolutely. It's exactly what you expect. And you get that variation in pitches sometimes up there. But, it was one of those weekends where, unfortunately, as we've said already, 5 out of the 7 new leagues didn't get going. I think there might have been 1 result in the West of England Premier League. I think Burbage and Eastern Royal might have got a win. But outside of that, I hate to say it, very little to talk about down south. So we're going to start up north, and we're going to start not quite with the Northern Pyramid, because we will come to that. So for those of you who listened a few weeks ago, we spoke to Chris Youlden, skipper at Newcastle. He set up the Premier League for us, told us who he thought was going to do well, etc. And Newcastle, they went down the road to Ashington at the weekend. Very famous club, as we know, Ashington, where the likes of Steve Harmison's come from. But yeah, they are proper old club. that have grown on the back of some of the big names that have come through there, and some of those names were playing at the weekend again in the biggest chase of the weekend, Mr. Newsom?
Well, it was a bit of a who's who, really. I mean, from a Premier League cricket point of view, we've got Charlie Harmison, which is Steve's son, I think, Ben Harmison, which is Steve's brother, and we've got Arthur Wilcox of the Wilcox brothers fame from Downham Stowe, who's up there at university, and then Chris Jordan chipping in with the biggest score of the day. So we've got a who's who of Premier League 11s there. Newcastle 325 for 9 in 50 overs. Very, very competitive score. Chris Jordan with 122 off 112. Arthur Wilcox 50 from 63. Dan Hogg 40 from just 17 balls. Set it up. Charlie Harmison 3 for 46 as well. And Ashton chased it down with 11 balls to go. Ben Harmison 111 off 94 balls. Sean McCafferty 64. Dan Gardner 57 not out, and Arthur Wilcox 3 for 64. So yeah, really, really good game. Didn't quite go to the wire, but when 3-2-5 plays 3-2-7, you've had a good game of cricket, haven't you?
Yeah, great game of cricket. 11 balls from the end ready to finish. 3 Harmisons in the side, and unfortunately for James Harmison, he was the only one who didn't hit any runs. But to see 3 Harmisons aside, and Yash Kathari was playing in that game, and we're not even talking about him, Taff.
I know.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't happen very often at all.
I say it didn't go to the wire, but I forget they're 9 down. So you're looking at they spent the last 3 or 4 overs, 1 wicket away from defeat. So yeah, it was a very tight game.
Yeah, I mean they scored, what was it, 20 odd runs for that 10th wicket to get up there. That's, to me, is what Premier League cricket's all about. You got a good score on both sides. You got a real good mix of experienced players in there, Hugh, young players in there. And then some of the guys who've been around for a little bit longer as well. It's what we want to advertise, what the Premier League's about up and down the country. But let's talk about a game a little bit further south where there was a youngster going a little bit, what's the word, mad, down in East Anglia, which, never mind the 650 plus runs up in Newcastle, our friends Ashmore and Barton Wanderers happened to have signed a Australia under-19 player. He didn't get off to the best of starts last week, if I remember rightly, but 250 runs later, he's hit the biggest score of the weekend and the biggest score of the season so far, Hugh.
Yeah, in the ECB Club National Championship on the 26th of April, he had 70 odds, so he's done all right there. He started the league season with a 2. And then against Frinton on the weekend, 250 off 155 balls, 20 times 4 and 16 sixes. 16 sixes, strike rate of 161. He rather won the game there, didn't he? Very, very good performance from him. It's not the first time we see an Aussie under-19 prospect popping up. We had Hugh Weebkin come in last year and doing fantastically well. And this year we got Jaden Draper, who was playing against England in the 19 World Cup in, was it January?
It was.
Yeah, he's going to be a really, really exciting prospect. I love seeing these young Aussies come over because you just know you're going to see him again and again and again, aren't you? And he feels like one that we will see for many years to come at a much higher stage than this.
Yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on during this season. He's now got himself up and running there in East Anglia. He was actually only 18 on the day he did that. It was actually his birthday the day after, would you believe, as well. Now, I've got to ask you, Taff, you're the one on here who's experienced going to Australia as a youngster. How difficult is it to rock up as a youngster in a big league over there and make such an impact?
Well, I didn't. I enjoyed the beers. Cricket was not so. I think it just shows how good these lads actually are nowadays. These young kids up and coming, just to be able to come over second game, first couple of weeks of leaving the homes for the first time generally, and smacking 250. That's not going to be beaten. And if it is, then fair play. But 250 is not getting beaten in Saturday cricket.
No. I mean, the East Anglian Prem is a bit of a graveyard for Aussie players as well. It's not a place where it's necessarily easy for your Antipodean prospects to come and score big runs. So for him to rock up and get 250, Jake Fraser-McGirt probably didn't get 250 runs between them in about 10 games that he played a few years back. So for him to do it in one innings is pretty special.
Yeah, most definitely. You talk about how impressive this is, Taff. But tell me, I mean, I'm asking a generalised question here. How many weeks into your trip into Australia for the first time was it before you felt, actually, I could do something here? Was it that much more difficult to be on the other side of the world and actually getting used to it?
Yeah, it's totally different. Like you say, you was fortunate enough to obviously grow up at a good club and it's pristine, and then you go out to Australia and the council run grounds, again, top cricket, but it's council run. The ovals are absolutely massive, 100-metre boundaries, and you're stepping into a world of unknown. So I
Yeah,
started well, and then I went on about 7 weeks of just doing absolutely disastrous. But yeah, it's tough. Like you say, you're left home, you're fending for yourself at 18 and playing men's first team cricket on foreign conditions, and they're letting you know as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations to Jaden. You won't be surprised to know that that was the biggest number of runs scored all weekend. 700 plus runs in that. I mean, just the thought of watching 700 plus runs when you lot struggled to get to 300 between you in Blackpool and Leyland, didn't you?
Yeah, good bowling.
Yeah, it does show the differences between the tracks up and down. But we'll come to a game a little bit later where I think sort of the norm's been broken, shall we say.
Just one last thing on the Ashman Abarth Wanderers Frinton game. Yeah, you mentioned 477 plays, 313. So it's a huge amount of runs. But what I'd like to say is Jordan Everett, 4 from 7 balls. Kieran Spencer, 1 from 4 balls. Jake Tarling, 170 not out from 131. Jaden Draper, 250 from 155. Jay Palmer, out first ball. So Jaden Draper gets out for 250. Jay Palmer strolls out going, well, that's a hard act to follow that, isn't it? Golden duck. Yeah. So I'm feeling for Jay Palmer there. I hope Jaden Draper bought him a jug or something or two.
Did any of the bowlers turn up?
Yes. Mark Smith, 8 overs, 0 for 110. Didn't have his best day out, Mark Smith, but and we've got a 90, we've got 2 90s as well. Said bin Yusuf and Danny Edwards. Yeah, it's a tough day at the office for the bowlers there. 5 overs for 61 as well. So yeah, it's a tough day at the office for the bowlers there. They had a bit of fun, but it's basically 2 lads having a bit of fun and everyone else having a crap day, including the other batters of his team. So
when you walk out, Taff, having just watched your colleague hit 250, do you go out there with the mentality that says, God, that track must be good, here we go, son? Or do you go out there going, oh shit, what's going to happen here?
Well, it's always the case. You always see it, don't you? Someone's been waiting to bat for hours on end and stroll out and they kick one first up. Or, but yeah, well, you start thinking, well, I can do that, can't I? And then
yeah,
you don't.
Unless your name's Will Williams at Gloucestershire, who goes out there and scores 90 odd at number 10. Yeah, it can happen. So, let's get to one of the leagues that's did get going at the weekend and had a full set of games up in North Wales. They've been playing in their T20 competition for a couple of weeks and getting themselves started on that one. However, back to the league, and there was almost a 400 in the North Wales League as well, Hugh.
Yeah, Menai Bridge, glorious Menai Bridge at home against Hawarden Park, 385 for 8. Ayush Verma, 121. Matt Jones, 70. Gethin Roberts, 62. But, I mean, there's a lot of people also chipping in to get up to that total. We've got a 57 further down as well, 15s, 12s and 10s, and 32 extras to help things along as well. So, yeah, Menai nearly made it to 400, and Hawarden Park, 227 for 7 in their 50. Didn't get there, but it's still a reasonable score. Jacob Duca, 91 off 71 balls. Matt Jones, 3 for 26. So, yeah, very, very high scoring start there. And then looking around the rest of the games, there wasn't a huge amount to be scored. Mokhtar versus St Asaph both shared 240 runs between them, 238 for 9 Mokhtar, and St Asaph knocked them off pretty comfortably, 4 down. Carl Williams out on 99, bad luck there, jog avoidance rules apply. But then, yeah, in the other 3 games, Mould made it over 200, but nobody else passed 200. Gressholt Park, 177, all out chasing Mould's 206. They had a bit to do. I think they were Had about 20 odd to get there in 3 overs. So just really going for it there. They weren't quite able to get over the line. Denby 151 for 9 in their 50. That was tough going there, and they bowled North about for 138. Sam Lewis got 35 for them as top scorer, a bit of a team effort to get to 150. Shea Williams 3 for 23, and then Sean Nash 3 for 21 in the reply of Northrop. And then Brimbo 153 all out in 42 overs, and Brimbo got it pretty comfortably, 4 down in 32 overs, so things were a little bit easier for Brimbo. But Chris Taylor 71 from 60, and 3 for 39 from Joe Maltby. But yeah, it was certainly a bit different for the majority of the North Wales League.
Yeah, the Menai Bridge, Hawarden Park game stood out there with the amount of runs. Hawarden Park had been promoted into the North Wales Premier League, and your first day out in the North Wales Premier League, you then let 385 on the board. You must be wondering what's going on there. Whereas at the other end of the scale, Mould had been promoted, and they chased down that. They scored 206 against Gwesel Park and come away with a win. So for the two clubs who've gone up, 1 win, 1 loss, and that that's one of those leagues, Hugh, where there's only 10 in a division. It's 2 up, 2 down, and it just makes that competitiveness work, doesn't it?
Yeah, I always think if you've just promoted, I know you've been on a bit of a hammering, but putting up 227 in your 50, I don't know. I think you're probably walking away from there not too concerned. Men are a decent side, aren't they? So I would be reasonably happy with that. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things they can work on, but yeah, they've all got in. People have had a bit of a bat. Hopefully, got used to some of the conditions, and we'll see how they go.
Absolutely. Now let's go. We've been a bit round the country so far. We've been up to the northeast for the biggest chase. We've been down to the southeast for the most runs. We've been back to North Wales for the North Wales Premier League and a little bit of a review of that. But let's bring it right back to home to effectively our local league here, Hugh. And we've had our second tie of the season in week 3 at a club that you know very well down at Spondon.
Yeah, interesting game. It's gone right down the wide. Chesterfield came up to the league last year. That's right, isn't it? The first year in the Prem last year.
This is the second year, I think, isn't it?
Second year in the Prem. So, but they've strengthened in the winter. Spondon, who obviously always a good side, Spondon batted first, put up 242 all out in their in 48.5 overs, and then Chesterfield got there. Got tied off the last ball of the match. Just looking at the ball by ball, they needed a very big final over. They needed 17 to win, 16 for the tie. And Ben Wright's bowled it. Previous over's gone for 7. Ben's previous over before that's gone for just 1. 2 dot balls to start with, then 6, 4, 2, and 4 to tie the game. So they need 5 to win, 4 for a tie, and he's got a tie off the end. Thankfully, we have MV Play, which has managed to miss the action as well. There's a slightly disappointing, after bigging up there. All the other things are on there. The scorer's got giddy. But it's a really, really interesting finish to the game with Reece Johnson hitting the winning runs and doing the damage late in the day. But yeah, what a great game of cricket. Yeah,
I mean, by any standards, in our local league, when you score 242, you're in the game. But it's sort of that sort of score that could go either way. It was a good chase, and you look at 1 or 2 of the guys who got out quite early on. Once you got to sort of 4 or 5 down, if you're Spondon, you think you're home, don't you?
Yeah, it was a really strong performance from the tail with Matt Stewart chipping in with 14. He's on the Derbyshire books, and he's playing second team cricket, I think, today. So yeah, for Reece Johnson to get him over the line, get them to the line, was a really great effort. So Adam Cahill with a vital 0 from 8 balls to not get out to help them reach it. But yeah, really, really good game of cricket.
Absolutely. Now, not too far down the road from Spondon, I'm going to talk about another game and one of our favourite clubs that we've talked about the last couple of years at Rothley Park. This wasn't a tie, but it was certainly a bloody thriller, to say the least. So Rothley Park in the Leicestershire and Rutland League were going up against Kibworth. Now, let's be brutal about this. You're going there to the two bigwigs. They're the two heavy hitters in the Leicestershire League. Kibworth won the toss, elected to bat 258 for 8. There were runs from various people across there, but in particular, you have Jacob Townsend with 94. But Rothley Park, remember we said it last week, Hugh, where is Mr. Dieter Klein? Well, Mr. Dieter Klein was back. He was back bowling, so was Mr. Ollie Freckingham. And that game went down to the absolute wire with 16 off the final over for Rothley Park to just get home.
They've not been perfect so far, have they?
No.
And you expected them. They had the tie, and they very nearly lost this one or tied it. So, I suppose it's slightly disappointing for the league, maybe, that they've managed to get over the line here, because I think they may end up, now that Dieter's back, hit the accelerator and maybe putting a bit of distance between them and the other teams. But a really, really tight game. Rothley put up 262 after, they say, Kib was 258 for 8 in their 50s. So to get it done so close, and certainly with that big final over, is a great effort. Ollie Freckingham doing most of the damage there, with Neil with 4 off the last ball to get him over the line.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a number of close games around the country that people have written to me about and dropped us messages about. But let's go full circle. Let's go back to the Northern Prem and talk about the Northern Prem of the weekend. And let's start at Leyland. So, to be fair, that score at Leyland, Matt, 160 odd. Would you have said that was par for the course there?
Would have liked a bit more. It's generally a good pitch at Leyland. Would have liked a bit more, but 160 on the board, we always think we're in the game with it, especially with our attack. And like you say, they were cruising, to be honest. And then just madness unfolded. But
madness unfolded around one man and one alone. So let's tell the story. Blackpool 163 for 8. Leyland come in, strong batted lineup, including Luke Hans, England under 19. They get to 134 for 4. Let's be honest, cruising. And your pro, Ali Usman, up to that point, if I was to be blunt and said he hadn't done anything at 134 for 4, tell us about the next 5 overs.
I think it was 30 to win, 6 wickets in hands, and then we just got on a roll and won it with 2 balls to go, 1 ball to go, 1 by 1 run. So it went absolutely wild. There was an awful lot of people on at Leyland. It was a good last 35 minutes.
What was Ali doing there that was just different?
He's just so consistent. It makes you play every ball. His arm ball's just a joke, to be honest. And then his stock standard left arm spinner is just on the money, and you're playing every ball. So if you're bowling on the stumps in club cricket and you're spinning it or you're sliding it on, you're going to cause trouble naturally. So that's generally all he does. He controls the best asset of his game.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his last 2 overs there. He's bowled 2 overs, 2 wickets for 3 runs, bowling in the 48th and the 50th over. But yeah, he's basically bowled 2 overs for 3 runs. His final over, he was defending 3. And he's gone for 1 and a wicket off his second to last ball. So yeah,
he was also defending 3 runs. I don't know if you saw it in Pakistan where they bowled a department out for 37, which was the world record. Ali's obviously took 6 for in that game.
Oh, was that game? Was it? Wow. Yeah.
So I think he had 3 runs to defend there as well. So you could say that experience in it.
It's nothing. Just in a day's work for him. Yeah.
And he did it, but he took 100 wickets this domestic season in Pakistan. So
the irony is that we've been talking about a couple of games here where 16 was scored in that Rothley game, 16 was scored in that Sponda game in the last over, and you guys have got a spinner bowling the last over defending 3.
And managing it comfortably by the looks of
it. Would I be right in saying that in terms of confidence level for this guy, as he kept taking those wickets on Saturday, your level of confidence went, listen, if we need to defend one, we'll just do it. He can do it, this guy.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of like how we sort of set up our side. We said it to you before. We didn't think we was out the game. They were cruising with 30 runs to go, but we never thought we was out of it. We just needed an opening, and we pride ourselves on pouncing on anything really. So
Yeah.
it's happened a couple back-to-back weeks. Obviously, we just missed out in the League Cup against Garstang by a wicket, but then we've pulled it back this week. So it's one thing that we do pride ourselves on not giving up and sort of being 11 dogs out there, really, if you're going to give it a bit of a loose term.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an absolute magician with his left arm spin, and it's a pleasure to watch, really.
And had he come straight from the Pakistani spin camp?
Came straight from the spin camp, 10 days spin camp with the PCB. He actually refused to go on a 6-week Pakistan white ball camp to come to Blackpool. So not often you hear that in our world as well. As soon as the clubs hear camps and the players naturally go, Ali did refuse to go to attend it and came across the Blackpool.
The thing is, though, is that it's not because of what you think. He's not bothered about the cricket. He's just a big fan of the Pleasure Beach. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, and Sandcastle Water Park as well.
That's
yeah.
It. Well, that's you mustn't forget that. Yeah, he's just a massive fan of the Pleasure Beach. So he's just like, yep, I could go on the camp, but you know.
And let's be honest, if you take 100 wickets in your domestic cricket over the winter, why do you need to keep going on these camps?
Well,
You've got it.
Yeah, just hope he doesn't get a test call up.
Well,
I think he might get a Derbyshire call up, and then
because I could be joining Mark Smith with 8 overs, none for 110 if he goes. So
another shout out to Frogbox again. If you want to see that final over, just click on play, and there's a lovely bit of broadcast vision currently available. So
just head to YouTube and just flick to the last.
It's all there on YouTube if you want to see it. That's the
absolutely.
way to go.
And to be fair to Matt, having watched that last over, there was some noise at the end, wasn't there?
It was loud if your volume was turned up. Yeah, it was
Mine
also
wasn't,
loud.
and it was loud.
Yeah, it was also loud in the changing rooms and at the back of the club. So
you enjoyed it, definitely. Let's have a look at the rest of Northern Prem at the weekend. Full set of games, first lot of games in the league. We took the piss out of you guys last year for starting somewhere in July. This year, at least, you've got started the first week of May, and you're not the last league to be started, which is always good. But some good games there over the weekend, Hugh.
And some wickets and runs as well. Longridge, obviously the Blackpool Leyland game that we just discussed. The stats were Blackpool 163 for 8, Leyland 162 all out, chasing that with Matt with his 51. Liam Hurt 3 for 46 for Leyland, and Ali Usman there with his 539, and James Thompson 3 for 33 did the damage. But Longridge put up 232 all out in their innings. Good team effort. Luke Platt 45, Matt de Villiers 42, Josh Mullen 40. And then the one of the highest wicket taking sprees of the day, Ollie Wildman 7 for 59 in just 14 overs for Netherfield to keep them down to 232, but Netherfield weren't able to chase it down. They were all out for 200. Abdu Dayan Galiam 58 was the top scorer for them, but Matt de Villiers 3 for 36 to go with his 42. Alex Mason 3 for 29. Keep an eye on Matt de Villiers, I think, this season. Garstang, Lahuru, Madhushankar, 108 not out for them, and when they posted 335.46 in their 50 overs. Tom Hickson 108 as well. He was out, but 83 balls, a couple of quick hundreds there. Harry Snowden keeping things score respectable, mildly respectable, with 3 for 88. Sonny Singh 3 for 107, and then Settle got nowhere. 164 all out. Will Davison 57, but not a huge amount else. Joe Barlow 4 for 19, and Lahuru Madhushankar as well 3 for 34 to go with his ton. One of the best all-round performances of the weekend. Up in Carlisle, the journey at Fort Chorley was a long one and fruitless. Carlisle 265 for 8. Safana Aaron Antwi 109 off 94 balls for Carlisle. Mike Slack 48 from 63. Luca Dore 3 for 67, keeping the score down there. But Chorley bowled out for 107 with nobody really troubling the scorers. But Ben Purdom, 4 for 9, was the pick of the bowlers in just 6 overs. And then Kendall got a win against St Anne's, lower scoring affair all round here. Kendall 176 for 10, Finn Richardson 35. But just looking at the scorecard for Kendall, there's a lot of people chipping in with runs. We've got 16, 31, 35, 1, 9, 11, 16, 7. Extras was third top scorer with 30, and that really made the difference in the game. St Anne's all out for 148 off 44 overs. Ethan Hill with 40, but not a huge amount else. Louis Backhouse 6 for 46 in 14 overs. So yeah, wickets certainly on top in the Northern Prem.
Most definitely. Now, the name I'm going to come back to there, I think, that I'm finding really interesting is Lahiru Madhushankar playing at Garstang. Now, I'm pretty sure that's someone that we're going to have to watch throughout this season. Madhushankar started so far with 61 against Oral Red Triangle, 108 against Settle. Oral Red Triangle game being the game of the National Club Championship. What are you hearing about this guy, Madhushankar, at Garstang, Matt?
He was pro at Blackpool a few years ago. So he's raved about at Stanley Park. We actually played against Garstang last week, and he got, I don't know what he got, 3, 9. Then he got single figure score, but like you say, he seems top class and he absolutely dongs it with the bat. So he's a nice one to get, really. See how they go this year. But they're looking good, Garstang, to be fair.
Yeah, they look good. They look good, and he could make a difference there, couldn't he?
They just score quick. Higson up top, left-handed, hits a real clean long ball, and then you've got Larry to come in at 5 and do the same, really. So there's no respite at all. Just hope we get him early.
Absolutely. Right, let's talk about...
I'll just jump onto the one other name in that group. And it's badly pronounced. Zafania Aranatwi, who's been around club cricket, around Carlisle for a few years, but Carlisle weren't in the Prem last year, were they? That's right.
Nope.
This year. So, obviously Carlisle coming to Prem. He's been a pro at Carlisle for a while, but he's a Ugandan international. So he's started the season very, very nicely. But you don't often get Ugandan internationals knocking about. Cric Info is worth a look on there. Ugandan under 19. He's 24, but he's done very well for Carlisle the last few years. And obviously, if you've got a pro coming back 3 years in a row, you're doing something right, aren't you? So he's one we can really look out for this year with a fantastic name.
We've got him next week, Carlisle. So see what he's like.
Is that a home game or away game?
At home.
Okay, so we're not going to get any text messages about the M60 next week. M61.
Just 3.5 hours to get there last year.
Definitely. Hey, one of the phrases you talked about in that roundup of the Northern Prem was about looking like one or two of the best all-rounders in the country there, Hugh, which means I've got to talk about the guy who right now is absolutely top of the all-rounder chart for us. So let's set this up very simply. A few years ago, we spoke with Chris Travers of the Stoke Sentinel, who gave us a really great background into the North Staffs and South Cheshire League. And we've always stuck on this phrase. If you score 200 or more in the North, South and South Cheshire League,
as a team,
invariably you're in the game and you've got a bloody good chance of winning. What he didn't say at the time was if you score 200 as an individual player. And on Saturday, we saw South African Bryce Parsons, sub-proing for Checkley, score 220 off 99 balls. Mr. Newsom, do you think Mr. Chris Travers needs to reinvent what he says now? Should it be 200 per player rather than 200 per team?
Yeah, I think when you've got a guy like Bryce Parsons in your side, he's a bit of a throwback, isn't he, to sort of the type of pro that was historically available more readily, shall we say, because of the lack of franchise cricket. Bryce is averaging 38 in first-class cricket in South Africa. He's averaging 30 in List A at a damn good strike rate. He's got 45 wickets in first-class cricket at 35 as a left-arm orthodox. He's like the perfect overseas pro. He's obviously done it year after year as well. So And what is he? Is he 25?
Yeah.
25, 26, 25 still. So he's just got, he's just at an absolute sweet spot there. There won't be any better players playing Premier League cricket this year, or many. He's right up there with the very, very best. So surprising that he's not been picked up by, professional sides, but good for Checkley, good for everybody else that's getting to see a bit of him this year.
220 off 99 balls, and let me just cover this. Checkley scored 414 for 8 in their game. There was only one other side in the 6 games in the North Staffordshire and South Cheshire League who scored more than 220. And that was Porthill Park, who scored 224. Yeah, he scored basically more than 10 other sides in the entire league. Now, the one thing we can say about the North South Cheshire League is the pitches are all pretty much the same around the area. We know the scores have always been that 150 to 200. There was some really tight games over the weekend. But actually, to score at that sort of level and at that rate, this is different gravy, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, I couldn't fathom thinking of scoring a double 100 in Saturday cricket, to be honest. And we've spoke about 2 this week, but
yeah,
it's scary good, isn't it?
What's quite amusing for his employers, Littleborough, he got a duck on Sunday. So he's sub-pro and smashing it out the park in one of the hardest places to score runs, technically, in the country, and then pops back up in the Lancs League where he's plying his trade and gets a duck. So they'll be feeling a little bit hard done by on the Sunday there, won't they?
Oh, most definitely. But when you see that for Checkley, he scored 115 and he's now scored 220. I think the Staffordshire captain, Mr. James Kettleborough, might be making that call once or twice this season if he needs a sub-pro, won't he?
Well, yeah, I think we'll be playing for Staffs as well. So the rule, are they not allowed overseas pros?
No, I think the overseas might be pushing it a bit too much, really, to say the least.
That's it.
Yeah. From your experience now, Taaffe, over the last couple of years, is this the sort of player, and we don't want to set alarm bells off, but is this the sort of player, and Jaden down at Ashmore, where first-class counties will have noticed these things and go, hang on a minute, maybe it's worth putting them on a twos, having a look at them?
Definitely, obviously, they're eligible passport wise. Obviously, the British passport holders that come over from Australia, New Zealand, they generally get a look in. I know we were getting a young Kiwi 19 that ended up at Bexley that unfortunately had to pull out with a stress fracture. I know there was a couple of counties interested in him straight from the off. They gold us really. But yeah, they are keeping tabs on him and they sort of get noticed more and more frequently, really.
Absolutely. Most definitely. Hey, let's look at some of the top scorers and wicket takers around the country at the weekend. I'm going to pick up a couple of the batters there, Hugh, from the stats that you've put together for us. So one of them in particular, Sandesh Ramana Yake at Duffield. 147, I think that's his second game there. He's moved from the Hertfordshire League up to the Derbyshire League. Great start for Sandesh.
Yeah, I always thought he was a bowler as well. So I think when you're getting 147 in a Premier League off just 95 and your primary skill is a bowler, then you're doing all right, aren't you? He's a big lad, big unit.
Very big.
We were told to watch out for him this year, but I was thinking about watching out with him with the ball. He's got some wickets as well. 10 went for a few, but 10 overs, 1 for 64. But Duffield started well, and he's a crucial part of that. So it's a hell of a knock from him.
Yeah. The other one that I was going to point out from the weekend, we spoke to Brad Wadland last week. He did a quick preview for us on the South Wales Premier League, and he mentioned Jack Hopebell, who then scores 125 for Newport against Pontarddulai. Bear in mind, one of the abandoned games, unfortunately. But, it was a name he mentioned. He's come out straight from the traps, scored a ton. Jack Hopebell on the Glamorgan staff as well, I believe, so someone to keep an eye out. But those top three, the top 2 scorers being double hundreds, and 2 of the top 3, Hugh, being from the same game. Jake Tarlin and Jaden Draper, both from the same game. I don't think I can ever remember seeing that, can you?
Rings a bell. Yeah, it must have been a flatty. Let's say a bit of a flatty.
Yeah,
Easy on there. Yeah,
just a bit. So, hey,
yeah.
bowlers wise though, we've got 5-7 for you. Tell us about them.
Yeah, starting at the bottom, Ben Walton, Newton the Willows, 7 for 81 in his 23. Matt Keogh, 7 for 67 for Wallasey against Bootle. So the Liverpool district getting a workout. Obviously, Ben Walton with his 23 overs for his 7 for, which will be a grumble for non-time cricket players up and down the country. Ollie Wildman, 7.59 in just 14 in the Northern Pyramid. That was the Netherfield Longridge game. In the Bradford Prem, a certain Brad Shmulian going all right again, 7 for 46. And Tahir Maqsood for Norden against Ramsbottom in the Lancs League, 7 for 31 is the top of the pile. Ben Walton also appearing there with 59 and is 7th in our top all-rounders charts as well. So well done him, one of the best performances of the weekend.
Yeah, most definitely. And it is interesting when you start to look at those all-rounders that we look at, there are the same names starting to pop in there week in, week out. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, Ben Walton, winter in Australia?
Yeah, a couple of winters in Australia. Excelled last year. I think it was 700 runs and 60 wickets.
Yeah.
And then he's carried it on already, and he got 160 last week with a bat.
Yeah. We said last week, Brad Shmulian, he never seemed to be off my socials during the winter. These players who are continuing all the way through, there does seem to be that sort of corresponding when they come back, they get started quite well, doesn't there?
That's it, yeah. Mustn't discount Luke Young there as well. 100 and a 5 for this weekend. So, really fantastic performance from him. It's not often you get a double jug. Does it quadruple up if you manage both? Do you have to by 4 or something like that? Is it? I'm not sure what the rules are.
Hoping you get a few bought for you.
Yeah,
well I was going to think that. But...
Yeah. A point I'd make is there's 33 different ECB Premier Leagues with 33 different sets of rules and regs. So we can make it a 34th one and say, yeah, you do need to double up if that happens, because they're all over the bloody place that way. Going to come to one final thing today, but just to summarise the Premier Leagues over the weekend, almost 50,000 runs scored out of 141 matches. Just like last year, 42 centuries, 41 fifers. Always seems to just there and thereabouts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And for those of you who love a bit of a duck count, 839 ducks around the country. It sounds a lot, but when you start to work it out, you go, yeah, that's about right. But before we close today, let's talk about what's coming up this weekend. Without any shadow of a doubt, it's got to be one of my favourite weekends of the year that I've been looking forward to. It's the next round of the ECB National Club Championship. Now, we've been through the preliminary round 1. We've been through preliminary round 2. And effectively, this is what the ECB actually call the first round proper. I will be going on Sunday to the game that we've said all along is the one to look forward to. New Farnley versus Hoyland Swain in Leeds. Now, Hoyland Swain won at the weekend, Hugh. I don't know if you noticed who was missing.
No.
Yeah, who was missing from the Hoyland Swain lineup in their victory at the weekend?
Don't know.
A certain Mr. Ben Kohler Cadmore.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Who has lit up the Premier League over the last couple of weeks already. He was playing for Germany in a ICC game, T20, Germany versus Austria, T20 series. And just to keep that form up, Mr. Ben Kohler Cadmore, 133 off 58 balls. Playing alongside Musaddiq Ahmed, the captain of Germany, 122 off 48 balls. Between them, they scored 308 in a T20. So whilst Ben might not have been playing a straight for Hoyland Swain, he was playing international cricket for Germany. And I don't know if New Farnley's big enough for what they can hit out to Hoyland Swain next weekend. Without a doubt, the tie of the weekend, I think, is that one. But we do know that there's a big one a bit further down in the groups when Blackpool have a little trip to Greater Manchester over the weekend there, Mr. Taaffe. Yeah,
we've got a tough one against Prestwich. They look a good outfit. I've never played at Prestwich either, so interested to see what the setup's like. But it'll be tough. Like I say, hopefully we can come away with a victory and getting to the next round because I'd love a run in the National, to be honest. But they're tough.
Absolutely. Mr. Newsom, you got the fixtures there in front of you. Any there that stand out to you?
Well, they all stand out, don't they? I think that's what
Yeah.
happens when you look at it. Doesn't take long for them all to stand out. I mean, Roe Green versus Lee, right up there. Cardiff, Bath, just scanning down here. Kendall Garstang, they Ockbrook Sleaford. Sleaford got a bit of a trek there. Spondon have got Kibworth, I think. Cavs, Newton, Linford. I mean, they're all Premier League clashes that they're all quite hard to call. Woodlands, Harrogate. It's Widnes, Hales Owen, Penzance, Helston. There's a lot to go at. And I can't. Yeah, they're all going to be a lot of fun. Be interesting to bet on. It's a bit like betting on the National, isn't it? You're just looking at all these, and if you could pick 3 winners out of there, I bet we'd all struggle to pick 3 winners out of this lot.
I think we'd probably be right. Yeah, when you look at games like Brentwood versus Bishop Stortford, you're like, oh God, where the hell's that one go? Just above that, in the group above it, Hornchurch, who started the season off nicely, but they've got Horsford coming down from East Anglia with some big hitters in them. They've scored some proper runs over the last few weeks. High Wycombe, they've got a home game against Havant. They should be okay there, really, but we'll see where that goes. And looking even further up, St Cross Simeons, who won the title last year, the Southern Prem, playing Burbage and Eastern Royal, who are the only side in the west of England who actually got a game in last weekend. I'm just working my way through the other bits and pieces to see if there's any I've missed myself. Nola Dorridge, semi-finalist last year, playing Oxton. Nantwich, they've got a tough game, I think, at home to Porthill Park. Although I do remember Dan Hancock telling me that I think Nantwich have been a bit of a bogey side for them in cup competitions before. But Porthill Park have started the season well there. And I think the one that we've both missed until now, and we've talked about it also, is Gary Knight, captain of national champions Ormskirk, will be at home to Longridge, which effectively is his home club. This is the tie he wanted, and this is the one that he wants to get through this one. And I think the words he used to be were he wants to batter them, because he's looking forward to potentially going further in that competition again this year. As we say, there's just games all over the country this weekend on Sunday. Fingers crossed the weather sits fair. I have looked at the forecast and it looks a little bit on the cool side, shall we say. So especially up north, I think we'll be putting the extra layers on and preparing for a long day watching cricket for myself. But for yourself, Taff, hopefully a good day in the field.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, there we go.
Just one that's jumped out at me there. Sorry, the Sawston Oundle Town game as well. That's you've got the Craig brothers up against last year's East Anglia Premier League champions. So, I mean... Yeah,
great games all over the country. We do have a wet weather date for the 17th of May, but let's hope that we don't need it. 16 groups, 4 games in each one. That makes 64 games going on. This is the last 128 of the National Championship match. At least you can say you made it to the last 128, but there's a long way to go all the way to Wormsley in September yet, mate.
Is that where it's at this year? The final.
We're at Wormsley, most definitely. Can't wait to see what goes on. I'll be on Instagram and putting stuff out there from New Farm at the weekend. We've got a great weekend's cricket ahead, and don't forget the NCCA cracking on with the National Counties Trophy through the weekend as well on Sunday. Lot going on, and we're almost at it now. Do you want the really good news, boys? Because this is the most important news of the entire week. We have a further 7 Premier Leagues up and running this weekend ahead. And I'm sorry, that then just leaves one sorry league left behind in Northants, who don't start for another 3 weeks. But we have to look forward to, Hugh, and to talk about next week, the Essex League, the Hertfordshire League, the home counties, Kent, Middlesex, Surrey and Sussex. We're just down in the southeast, so as long as the weather's good in the southeast, we'll have a bit more to talk about down there next week.
Very good. Look forward to it. I always like talking about those leagues. It's not an area I know particularly well, so it's slightly glamorous, isn't it? It is. The glamour of London reflecting on our inner glory.
Yeah, and I think there's some big scores been hit down in the Home Counties League over the weekend, in particular in the T20s. So be some interesting games to keep an eye on there, without a shadow. So I look forward to catching up next week, everyone, and we will see you next week, same time.
Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us at the Premier League Cricket Club. We'll be back soon with more from the world of Premier League and NCCA cricket. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your socials. Or maybe check out our website, premierleaguecricket.co.uk, to stay updated. Until next time, have a good one.